ESPN just released their WNBA offseason grades for 2025 with the Indiana Fever coming out on top.
The past has simply been created, and if you weren't listening, you're about to enter the NBA's free agency. To understand why this is among the most actions in the last several years.
The Fever did not come to play. They are on a mission to win now, like 2025 championship season incoming. They were so quiet during free agency. And in the past 24 hours, boom, boom, boom. Re-signed Kelsey Mitchell to a max deal. Picked up Natasha Howard, bringing her back to the Indiana Fever, where she was originally drafted. And then they just announced a three-way trade, sending Alyssa Smith to Dallas and Sophie Cunningham coming to the Fever. This team in 24 hours just got exponentially better. Starting five, Caitlin at the 1, Kelsey at the 2, Lexi Hall and Sophie can duke it out for the 3, Natasha Howard at the 4, Aaliyah Boston at the 5.
Caitlin Clark will be entering the ESPN, and the league just verified that the free agency was dominated by the Indiana Fever in a manner that might alter the franchise's course. But how do they do this, and why are analysts referring to this as one of the best in WNBA history? Seasons endure, since what we're going to dismantle is not only significant, it's revolutionary for Caitlin Clark's illness.
So let's start with the Indiana Fever because they were awarded the highest grade of an A. So do you guys remember during the Indiana Fever's season when fans and media personalities were saying that they would be surprised if anyone wanted to play in Indiana because of their toxic fan base, because there was problems in the locker room? Well, all of that seemed to be pushed to the side because Indiana Fever has become the destination for WNBA free agents.
If you adhered to the WNBA in recent years, you know that the illness has been trapped in a ruthless reconstruction that missed the playoffs for 7 consecutive seasons. But now, everything has changed.
At the number 1 spot, who to me is the most dangerous roster, is the Indiana Fever. I mean, what? How did they pull this off?
4. To begin with, Caitlin Clark isn't she's a top prospect as well. A player with generational talent who doesn't simply bring exceptional talent, but a degree of stellar power capable of changing the league's landscape that we are discussing. Concerning a person who is now being, in contrast to Steph Curry, due to her elite court, an endless shooting range, vision, and the capacity to independently. This isn't just another takeover game. The highly regarded rookie is a franchise-altering a player that the WNBA has been anticipating, taking the league to an additional degree of public awareness.
Out to you about the experience, the champions that have been added to this bunch.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody talked about when we were in the playoffs last year of, we really didn't have much experience at all playing in playoff games. I don't know what the exact number was, but we really lacked in that area. So just adding pieces of, players that have been in this league, they know what it takes to win, they know what it takes to get to the finals, they know what it takes to win championships, I think is exactly what we needed in our locker room.
However, the thing is that even the best rookies require the appropriate. We've seen them work as a team to succeed. When thrown, many superstars struggle, obliged to carry into difficult circumstances, teams without adequate assistance, which is why this was a crucial offseason for They couldn't simply draft Caitlin because of Fever, Clark, and wish for the greatest outcome they require to assemble a team that could optimize her advantages, outweigh her disadvantages, and ensure that she doesn't end up in a losing situation. Culture from the beginning, and that's precisely what they exercised free agency in their actions. Taking the proper actions to surround Clark has a powerful supporting cast while keeping long-term adaptability to continue constructing around her. Consequently, ESPN has formally named the WNBA's biggest winners are Indiana. Free will.
I think every person you ask in this league or past teammates that they've had, they only have good things to say about them, and that's the reason all the top teams were going after these type of players, because they know the type of asset they are in the locker room, from a type of player they are, but more so their leadership, their knowledge of the game, how hard they work, And those were the only people that we were going to add to this. So just really fortunate we've been able to get a lot of the pieces that we've wanted. So that just speaks to what we've been able to build here over the course of the last year, but also to the front office and what Steph's been able to do, but also to the players that have, chosen to come here and are excited about it. And it speaks a lot to them too. Like, they want to win and play in front of a lot of fans. And, it fires me up.
So, let's begin by examining what they did correctly. The essential components they preserved initially. Aaliyah Boston is not your typical young person. Star is among the most prominent posts. League players, and she's only. Boston was already a starting point force as a rookie who took home the WNBA Rookie Award. The year with a double-digit average, locations, and managing the paint using her outstanding defense and rebounding combination. She's dreaming about being with Caitlin Clark. Combination, consider Clark's. Being able to shoot from any location means defenses will need to extend to protect her while she opens the paint for. Boston will labor indoors in the interim. Boston's capacity to lead two teams. Defenses will have to give way down low, making Clark's appearance even more revealing. In order to defeat those deep threes, she's renowned for being a flawless duo that might rule the WNBA for many years to come. Come on.
To see the franchise all in on you and this team with the new practice facility, landing these free agents, and really being all in on women as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, honestly, and I feel very fortunate and lucky to come here, to stay in the Midwest, and this is the franchise in all of women's sports, I say. No matter what sport it is, they're certainly investing. They see the type of crowds we get, they see the excitement we're generating not only in the state of Indiana but all across the country, and I think the next few years are going to be amazing for this franchise, and will continue to be for hopefully 10 plus years, and hopefully we win a few championships, but they're investing to help us be really good. So just putting all the right pieces together and doing it on the floor to return that favor to them. But I'm just really thankful to be here, and thankful to all of Pacers Sport and Entertainment, the Simon family, and then obviously Kelly and Amber.
Indiana, however, didn't end there. They moved out and included veteran leadership due to if a young superstar is being brought in, similar to Caitlin Clark, you require expertise. Players who are skilled at winning, that's where. When Dananna Bonner enters, Bonner is among the game's most esteemed veterans. A WNBA champion twice with the capacity to score, defend, and supply. She is a leader in the locker room, just the type of player who can assist. Caitlin Clark adapts to being a professional, while simultaneously providing Indiana with another threat to score on the wing, but that's not every fever played a crucial part. Additions of players to make sure Clark has defenders and shooters surrounding her who can assist her step up her game. Let's discuss. Caitlin, discussing why this is extremely important. Despite being a skilled playmaker, Clark is not merely a scorer that she makes for herself. Colleagues locating unoccupied shooters and preparing them for simple buckets, which is why it was so important that Indiana bring in athletes capable of making those shots if the lane drafting is being driven by Clark, kicking the ball out of her and defending her. Colleagues must eliminate those that are open. Appearance, and that's precisely what Indiana. Using this roster, they established a group that excels not only on paper but one that truly enhances Clark's skill set in comparison to other leading picks in the WNBA's recent history. Many number one drafts choices enter the league with high standards but failing to meet them due to their team's failure to put the proper parts surrounding them. Gaze at Sabrina Ionescu when she initially arrived in New York into the league that the Liberty lacked the appropriate roster to back up her performance style. It took them years to construct those surrounding her that may genuinely compete with or consider. Ryan Howard in Atlanta is yet another top pick with great skill, but it has taken some time for the desire to locate the appropriate components to praise her performance in Indiana. They're not committing that error, they're making certain. Caitlin Clark enters a successful circumstance from the beginning, which is why ESPN recently verified what many of us was well aware of: the free agency craze. Let's now discuss how this compares to the league's other teams because not all teams had a successful offseason. Examine the Las Vegas Aces, the current champions, but they are moving to free agency. Left much to be desired, as they were unable to contribute crucial depth, and their roster isn't as robust as it was the previous year, but they still have Kelsey Plum and A.G. Wilson. They didn't act in a manner that maintain a team's competitive edge. Afterwards, Dallas made several extremely untrustworthy signatures, such as paying too much for players who may not even suit the chemistry of their system. For them, things may become chaotic, and they didn't make the necessary progress. The New York Liberty, meantime, remained comparatively silent decision to maintain their core unharmed, but not producing any significant enhancements, and naturally there's the Indiana Fever did a fantastic job. They improved, but they also created a group that has a valid route to dispute in the near future, since this isn't. This is merely about qualifying for the playoffs, about creating a powerhouse for the future, and, to be honest, Caitlin Clark is going to alter all that. She is bringing in millions of new admirers, creating additional more media coverage than the WNBA has experienced years, and scheduling games for the Indiana Fever across the country in a manner that we not seen previously, which is why this is off the season was so important, that it wasn't only regarding obtaining Clark. It was about creating certain that this group is prepared to take advantage of the excitement and make it a true success. For fans of Fever, this is the most momentous occasion in years. For the first time in ages, Indiana isn't only there rebuilding and creating something actual squad with the ideal balance of leadership and role of youthful talent and veterans players who are ideal for Caitlin Clark, and, to be honest, the others in the league ought to be a little concerned. Since if Clark lives up to the expectations, and there is no cause for concern that she won't, this Indiana squad might be among the league's most dangerous teams in only a few seasons. However, we haven't finished yet, because while Indiana has received the highest rating from ESPN in unfettered agency, there's still many discussion over whether or not this squad is genuinely prepared to contend for a championship, or if they still have tasks to complete, because even though the actual free agency has already been won by them, can they win everything? So we've proven that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have won free agency, at least as ESPN claims. They've encircled their prospective superstar with leadership and talent and depth, making sure she is not required to bear the full burden in her rookie season. But this is the next crucial query. How good is this team really capable of being? Gaining access to free agency is one thing, but that results in victories on the court, which is a completely distinct problem. There are two key elements that will dictate how this group can make things better rapidly. First, how well is Caitlin Clark going to adapt? To the second, how does this new WNBA see how the Fever team compares to the? Let's begin with Clark's, the league's best switch to the professional game for as domineering since she was a college student. Is not an easy one for the WNBA. League is full of larger, quicker, and more rookies and physical defenders. Even the finest ones frequently require some time to adapt. For instance, Sabrina Ionew is joined the league in 2020 using comparable hyped as the next big thing in women's basketball, yet early wounds in the difficulty of getting used to professional-level defenses meant the rookie season wasn't nearly as successful as fans anticipated. That it wouldn't happen until her third season, in which she really discovered her rhythm and turned into an all-star, followed by Aya Wilson, who joined the league as a number as well. One choice with high standards in contrast to Sabrina Wilson's influence was felt right away. 20 points and 8 rebounds on average, being an amateur, and demonstrating that it doesn't take years for generational abilities to adapt, they immediately take over. Thus, what role does Caitlin Clark play here? Well, she has a significant edge over. Her style of play is designed for most novices. The ability of Clark to shoot in the current game is a game changer, that she can access forced defenses with a long logo range outside of their comfort zone and produce search for teammates simply by being anywhere on the court that poses a threat. A skill set that is instantly applicable. She won't be ignored by defenses, and if they attempt to outsmart her, they'll leaving another person open. But simultaneously, she will need some time to get used to. WNBA protects the athletes she will be facing are more powerful, faster, and far more seasoned than anyone she encountered in college in the NCL. For instance, defenders were occasionally unable to keep up with her motion away from the ball, but inside the elite will be her guard in the WNBA. Defenders of the level perimeter, who refuse to give, she will also give her an inch of room. Encounter more people at college. She received several calls when the defenders even slight contact, but the referees and the pros give in to more physical contact, and she will have to get proficient in playing through it. So whereas Clark's offensive arsenal includes constructed for the WNBA, but she will still have to adapt to the defensive and physicality, the strain of performing at this level. But here is where Indiana comes in. When off-season actions are taken, the why Clark won't have as much difficulty as some other novices because she refuses to must-handle things on her own. She'll possess Aaliyah Boston in charge of the paint, indicating that defenses cannot fully pay close attention to Clark. She'll have a Danana Boner as an additional score method that utilizes certain of removing the need for her to be the primary source of attack in each match, and she'll have seasoned athletes nearby who can instruct her in the small details of how to manage physical defenses and pace self over an extended WNBA season, and how to adapt to various defensive strategies that set this fever apart. Squad from the previous generation of young teams that have difficulty cultivating their stars, they're not merely selecting skill and wishing for the best as they construct a mechanism that allows their young athletes to truly succeed. But the next step is, how does this fever team match up, I wonder? Against the top players in the league, because Indiana, however, has significantly improved. They have yet to enter a league where teams like as New York and Las Vegas have established strong rosters already. Let's examine the top groups in the WNBA and Indiana's role in it. The Las Vegas Aces continue to be the team to defeated Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, and A.A. Wilson. And Jackie Young serve as the foundation of a consecutive championship squad, and they remain among the most hazardous league's offenses. But their depth, they still have a hidden free agency. The combination of experience and the elite level Indiana's talent to be the favorites wants to take on Vegas. They'll have to must demonstrate that they can protect the elite boundary scorers, as the Aces are going to challenge their defense each and every own the New York Liberty. Another Brianna Stewart is the center of a fantastic squad. Sabrina Ionescu and J.N. Kell-Jones. The Liberty is extremely adaptable and knowledgeable, and they perform a kind of a game of basketball that will rival Indiana's defense. To help Indiana defeat a team such as New York will have to depend on their quickness, and three-point shooting to the floor should be stretched to make New York's larger front court to protect the Connecticut's perimeter. Sun considered among the most reliable groups in league, with Alyssa Thomas at the top. The physical charge. They play basketball with a defensive mindset, and this is the type of squad that will attempt to dawn down Caitlin Clark using forceful defense in your face. If Clark and the Fever wish to play against groups such as Connecticut, they must demonstrate that they're able to tolerate that level of pressure over a complete four-quarter period. So where is Indiana fit into all of this at the moment? They're not candidates for titles yet, but they might make their debut appearance in the playoffs in simply 7 years, and that would be an enormous advancement. But in reality, they're centered in the group with a high ceiling based on how fast Clark and Boston becomes one of the greatest league duos, but this is what makes them not only that hazardous. In preparation for this season, they're constructing a future if Clark survives up to the expectations, if Boston maintains growing into a large and impressive MVP, if Indiana continues to create a clever roster maneuvers. This team might actually championship candidate in the upcoming few years, which is why ESPN awarded them the best rating in free agency, because they are not merely taking action now. They are positioning themselves to the only question at this point is long-term success. Is how quickly she can take control of certain. It takes years for rookies to become used to others and take control immediately. Caitlin Clark has the potential to be among the few players that switch teams every day one. If she fulfills her potential, the roster for Indiana clicks as it is intended to, and if they are able to maintain their own against the top teams in the league, then we may be discussing one of the greatest rookie effects in the history of the WNBA. And the unsettling aspect is that this is only that the WNBA is poised to undergo a transformation forever, with Caitlin Clark in the forefront of the well. Caitlin Clark, there you have it, is entering the WNBA with the ideal prepared for achievement, and ESPN is already referring to the Indiana Fever as the most. Which free agency winners do you support? Their score or Do you believe another group ought to have one first place? Allow me in the comments section, and if you please remember to like this video if you liked it. Hit the notification bell and subscribe to ensure you never miss the most recent WNBA news.